These here are my 5D Mark IIIs. They are my workhorses that I use to make my living with. For photography, they are absolutely outstanding. They are brilliant. But I find I'm doing a lot more video work these days, and there are some features of the 5Ds that just aren't cutting it. So it's time for a change. When the Canon 5D Mark IV came out in September of 2016, the older 5D Mark III dropped in price. Then the following year the 6D Mark II was released at around about the same price point, just a little bit cheaper, so naturally people compared the two. And there are a lot of YouTubers who've done videos where they've weighed up the specs of each one, but not all specs are equal. So which are the features we should pay attention to and which ones don't matter? I've been using the 5D Mark IIIs for quite a while, and I've been using the 6D solidly for about a month now, and these are my findings. Apparently the native ISO on the 6D Mark II is higher than this, but they look about the same to me. For video, the 5D Mark III records in all iframes as well as IPB. The 6D Mark II records in IPB, but I can't tell the difference even when editing the footage and pushing it. It looks the same to me. 5D Mark III, 6 frames a second. 6D Mark II, 6.5 frames a second. 5D is 22 point something megapixels. 6D is 26 point something megapixels. It's this much bigger. Focus points, both cameras have a lot of them. One of them's got more than the other, I can't remember which. The 6D Mark II has received some criticism for the focus points being all bunched into the center of the frame. But in reality, this hasn't been an issue for me. They go out to around about a third of the way across the screen. So you have to go actually outside the rule of thirds before you actually lose a focus point, and then you can just sort of focus and recompose. I really haven't found it to be a big issue at all. There's a few things missing from the 6D that I like on the 5D. There's the joystick on the back that you can select the focus points with. You have to use the wheel on the 6D. Maybe I'm just not used to it, but I find it a little counterintuitive. On the 5D Mark III, you have 3 user settings you can set, and on the 6D Mark II, you only have 2. And I use all 3 on the 5D Mark III, so it's a bit of an issue, but not really a big one. 6D Mark II is a tiny bit lighter than the 5D Mark III, but when you've got a lens on them, I couldn't tell the difference. The big pros of the 6D Mark II, for me, video, it can record 50 and 60 frames a second at 1080p. The 5D Mark III can only do that at 720p, so you can get nice smooth slow motion at full HD. The 6D Mark II also has a nice built-in time-lapse feature, and what's good about it on here is you can set it manually, so you can set nice long exposures to get those light trails that a lot of cameras don't do, like the G7X Mark II, which I'm shooting on right now. One of the major things that's really good about the 6D Mark II is it has a flip out screen. So you can film yourself, you can get low angles, high angles, shots that are very difficult to get with a viewfinder. I cannot begin to tell you just how useful it is having an articulating screen on a camera as good as this. It also has a touch screen, which makes the menus really easy to cycle through and means you can actually focus pull by tapping the screen, and it just works really well. Another really great thing about the 6D Mark II is it has that amazing dual pixel autofocus, which means you can track people's faces in video, get it to constantly autofocus, and it works so well. The 5D Mark III is only fully manual focus in video, and when you're using something like a gimbal, like I tend to be doing for work, that becomes a real problem. The 6D Mark II has a mic input socket but no headphone output, which would have been nice, but I think this camera is essentially made to be like the ultimate vlogging camera that's also a full frame camera, which is a great package. So it's fine to put a shotgun mic on and record into the camera with the auto levels. It works absolutely brilliantly. You don't really need to monitor it. When recording audio professionally, I use external audio recording equipment anyway. So the 6D Mark II is a really great camera. It's a big step up in video from the 5D Mark III, and the photo quality is about the same, which is excellent. But, and there's a big but, I will not be replacing my 5D Mark IIIs with the 6D Mark II because of one crucial thing. On the 5D Mark III, you have dual card slots. You can record images to 2 cards at once, so when shooting things like weddings, you are automatically backing up as you're going along. And the 6D Mark II has one solitary solo card slot for one lonely SD card. Cards sometimes do fail, and they have failed on me in the past. I don't want to take that risk again. And so I won't be replacing my 5D Mark IIIs with 6D Mark IIs. The 6D will have to be a camera I have in addition to my 5Ds. Sneaky, sneaky Canon. It is a great camera. I don't think it deserves a lot of the stick it's got. A lot of people going on about how it doesn't have 4K, but we're not there yet with 4K. When 4K becomes standard, there will be a whole new generation of cameras. And you won't still be hanging on to your 6D Mark II. You'll have your 5DX Mark 7. So ultimately, my verdict is that this is a really, really nice camera. It's a shame about the single card slot, but I wouldn't really expect Canon to do that in their 6D range. That's something for more their higher end range, like their 5D, 1D series. It's great having an articulating screen on a camera that is full frame and is the quality that it is. That's a really, really big draw, actually. Now, Canon may not be the best spec cameras in the video market right now, but I really love that Canon colour science, so that's why I stick with Canon. But ultimately, this is just a tool to help you realise your vision. Don't get too hung up on specs. It's not what's important in photography. This is a great camera.